The emergency lights flashed red across the Galactic Alliance Council chamber. 16 alien leaders sat around the large round table, their faces showing fear. "The swarm has taken another system," said Delegate Voss, his thin blue fingers trembling as he pointed to the star map. "That makes 17 systems lost in 6 months." The star map showed a growing black area where stars once shined. The swarm moved like a hungry animal, eating everything in its path. High Counselor Mika stood up. Her tall, slender body seemed weaker than usual. "We have tried everything. Our weapons fail. Our shields break. Our fastest ships cannot outrun them. There is one option we have not tried," said Delegate Rule from the corner of the room. The old alien skin was gray and wrinkled. "The beacon." The room went silent. "You cannot be serious," Mika whispered. "You want to call them." Rule nodded slowly. "The Deathworlders. The humans. We locked them in their system for good reasons," shouted another delegate. "And now we need those same reasons to save us." Rule answered calmly. "We feared them because they evolved on a death planet. They are stronger, faster, and more aggressive than any species we know. They can live through things that would kill us instantly." The council argued for hours, but in the end, they had no choice. The beacon was activated, sending its signal across the empty space toward a small blue planet called Earth. Captain Ta-1 Kim stood on the bridge of the UEF Thunderhawk, Earth's newest and most powerful spaceship. Through the large front window, he watched the stars. The ship was running a standard patrol mission along the edges of human space. "Captain," called Jai-Ho Lee, the science officer, "we're picking up a strange signal." Tai-1 walked to Jai-Ho's station. "What kind of signal?" "I've never seen anything like it," Jai-Ho said, his eyes fixed on the screen. "It's not human in origin. It's coming from deep space, beyond our borders." Hana Park, the weapons specialist, joined them. Her short black hair was neatly kept, and her uniform was perfect as always. "First contact?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Maybe," Ta-1 replied. "Or maybe it's a trap." The signal grew stronger. Jai-Ho's eyes widened. "It's a distress call, Captain. Someone out there needs help." Tai-1 touched the comm button on his uniform. "Bridge to command. We've received an alien distress signal, requesting permission to investigate." There was a long pause before Earth Command responded. "Permission granted, Captain. But be careful. We've never had official contact with aliens before." "Understood," Ta-1 said. He turned to his crew. "Set course for the signal's origin. All stations on alert." Da-Hyun Kang, the chief engineer, looked up from his station. "Engines ready, Captain. We can make the jump whenever you give the order." "Do it," Ta-1 commanded. The Thunderhawk's engines hummed louder as the ship prepared to jump to faster than light speed. The stars outside the windows stretched into lines of light. On the Alliance homeworld, Mika watched the tracking screen with the other council members. "Something is coming," announced the technician. "A ship has responded to our signal and is approaching quickly." "Show us," Mika ordered. The screen changed to show a sleek, powerful ship with human writing on its side. "UEF Thunderhawk," read the translator. "It's them. The Deathworlders have answered our call." "May the stars help us," whispered Voss. "We're inviting predators into our home." Rule smiled slightly. "No, old friend. We're inviting the only species in the galaxy that the swarm might actually fear." The Thunderhawk dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Alliance border station. The humans had arrived. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Thunderhawk docked at the Alliance station. Captain Tai-1 Kim led his team through the airlock. Hana Park walked on his right, hand near her weapon. Jai-Ho Lee followed with scanning equipment. The Alliance greeting party waited nervously. Mika stepped forward, trying to hide her fear. "Welcome, humans," she said through a translator. "Thank you for answering our call." Tai-1 nodded. "We received your distress signal. How can Earth help?" The aliens led them to a large meeting room. Star maps covered the walls, showing the spread of the swarm in red. "We need to explain something first," Mika said, "about why we never contacted Earth before." Rule stepped forward. "Your species evolved on what we call a death world. Earth's gravity is crushing to most species. Your air would poison many of us. Your planet's dangers shaped humans into something the galaxy fears." Hannah raised an eyebrow. "You're afraid of us. What you call normal, we call deadly," explained Voss. "You can survive radiation that would kill us. You can break bones and heal. You can breathe toxic gases that would melt our lungs." Jaiho studied the star maps carefully. "These show the swarm's movement patterns." He pointed to several spots, "but they avoid these areas. Why?" The aliens looked at each other nervously. "Those are human outposts," admitted Mika. "The swarm changes course rather than approach human territory." 17 times, added Rule. "They have avoided human contact 17 times. Taiwan and Hannah exchanged looks. "You think the swarm is afraid of humans?" asked Taiwan. "We believe so," said Mika. "That's why we called you." Back on Earth, the United Defense Council gathered in their underground base. Admiral Bo Young Choi showed them the transmission from the Thunderhawk. "The Alliance needs our help," she said. "Captain Kim recommends we send the fleet." General Jun Seo Kwan frowned. "These aliens kept us isolated for centuries. Now they want help." "The swarm is a threat to everyone," replied Bo Young, "including Earth. If it consumes the rest of the galaxy, we'll be next." After hours of debate, they reached a decision. 50 warships would form the Dithworlder fleet. Each ship would carry Earth's best soldiers and scientists. Bo Young sent the orders. Across Earth, crews prepared for battle. They packed weapons, supplies, and equipment. Many had trained for space combat, but none had ever fought an alien enemy. On the Alliance station, Jeho made an important discovery. "Captain," he called to Taiwan, "I've analyzed the swarm's biological makeup from the Alliance data. There's something strange." Taiwan looked at the screen. "What am I seeing?" "The swarm's biology breaks down when exposed to compounds found in human sweat and breath," Jaiho explained. "Our very presence is toxic to them." Hannah smiled. "So we're basically walking poison to these things." Alliance scientists watched in shock as the humans casually discussed combat strategies that would kill most species. Taiwan described spacewalks without special suits. Hannah talked about fighting in high gravity. Jaiho suggested using human biological compounds as weapons. "How can your bodies handle such things?" asked an Alliance doctor. "It's just normal for us," said Taiwan with a shrug. A communication officer rushed into the room. "Captain Kim, we're receiving a message from Earth. The Dithworlder fleet has launched. 50 warships are on their way." The Alliance representatives gasped. 50 ships, so many," whispered Mika. "That's just our first wave," said Hannah with a smile. As the humans discussed battle plans, the Alliance members watched with a mixture of hope and fear. The Deathworlders were rising, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Helios Nebula glowed blue and green against the black of space. The Dithworlder fleet moved into position, 50 Earth ships in perfect formation. The Thunderhawk led the way, with Captain Taiwan Kim standing tall on the bridge. "Swarm ships detected," announced Jaiho Lee, eyes fixed on his screen. 27 vessels approaching from the nebula. Taiwan nodded. "All ships, battle positions. This is not a drill." Chief Engineer Da-hyun Kang worked quickly at his station. "Captain, I've modified our shields based on the Alliance data. They should be stronger against the swarm's weapons." On the screens, the swarm ships came into view. They looked like giant insects, with sharp points and glowing red centers. They moved as one, like a single mind controlled them all. Security Chief Sun Mai, "Prepare boarding teams," ordered Taiwan. "If their biology is weak against ours, let's use that." Sun Li nodded. Teams are ready, Captain. Combat suits charged and loaded. The Alliance representatives watched from a safe distance in their own ship. They had never seen humans fight before. Many expected the humans to die quickly, despite their hopes. The swarm is launching biological weapons, warned Jio. They're releasing spores into space. On other ships, alien crews would panic at this news. The spores could eat through most materials and kill most life forms. But the humans remained calm. Activate biofilters, ordered Taiwan. All personnel, Level 1 protocols only. The swarm attacked first. Their ships fired glowing red beams at the human fleet. Some hit their targets, but the modified shields held. Return fire, commanded Taiwan. Target their central ships. The Thunderhawk fired, followed by the rest of the fleet. Blue energy beams cut through space, hitting the swarm ships. 3 exploded immediately. Boarding teams, launch now, said Taiwan. Small ships left the human vessels, heading straight for the swarm. Inside them, human soldiers prepared for combat. They wore special suits that Dahyun had designed, with air systems that would pump human breath toward the enemy. The first boarding team reached a swarm ship. They cut through the hull and entered. What they found inside shocked them. Captain, reported Sun Mei through the comm. The swarm creatures are dying just from our presence. They can't even get close to us. Alliance observers watched in amazement as the humans tore through the swarm forces. What they had thought would be a slaughter turned into a victory. Human ships moved faster than expected. Human weapons hit harder than predicted. Human bodies resisted attacks that would kill any other species. After just 2 hours, the battle was over. 7 swarm ships destroyed, 3 captured, and the rest retreated. Taiwan turned to the Alliance representatives on the video screen. First contact complete. First blood drawn. An Alliance ambassador stared in shock. Is this normal combat for your species? You made it look so easy. Taiwan smiled slightly. No, this was just the beginning. We're still learning how to fight them. The Alliance members looked at each other with mixed feelings. They were grateful for the human help, but terrified by what they had just witnessed. We should move quickly, said Hana Park. The swarm will adapt. They'll find ways to fight us if we give them time. Taiwan nodded. Set course for the Proxima system. That's where the swarm main fleet was last seen. As the human ships moved away from the nebula, news of their victory spread across Alliance space. For the first time in months, the aliens felt something they had almost forgotten. Hope. The Deathworlders had proven themselves in battle, and they were just warming up. The Deathworlder fleet pushed deeper into space controlled by the swarm. Each day brought new battles, and each battle ended with human victory. Captain Taiwan, Kim stood in the Thunderhawk's command center, studying the star maps. The swarm is changing its tactics, he said. They no longer attack head-on. They're trying to avoid direct contact with our ships. Hana Park nodded. They're learning. That makes them more dangerous. In the communications room, Jin Woo-yoon worked on decoding swarm signals. For days, he had listened to the strange sounds the enemy used to talk to each other. Now he was starting to understand them. Captain, Jin Woo called over the comm. I've decoded part of their language. They're calling us the Poison Ones. They fear our touch. In the medical bay, Yeon-ji-baek made an important discovery. She had been studying swarm biology from the creatures they had captured. Their bodies break down when exposed to compounds in human sweat, she explained to Taiwan. Even our breath is toxic to them. Something in us kills them slowly. Can we use this? Asked Taiwan. Yeon-ji nodded. I think so. We could make weapons using human biological compounds. This news shocked the Alliance scientists. The apex predator that had been eating its way across the galaxy was allergic to humans. Fleet Admiral Du-Yan Wang called a meeting of all ship captains. On screen, she outlined a new plan. Operation Nightshade, she said. We will use our own biology as a weapon against the swarm. Each ship will be equipped with devices that spread human biological compounds into swarm territory. The plan was bold. It might end the war quickly, but not everyone agreed with it. On the Alliance command ship, a secret meeting took place. Several alien leaders gathered in a small room, far from human ears. "The humans are too powerful," said a tall, gray alien from the Exervan Imperium. "They're defeating the swarm too easily. What happens when the war is over? Will they go back to their planet and leave us alone?" "I doubt it," said another. "Once released into the galaxy, they will spread everywhere. They might become worse than the swarm." "We must act now," said the Exervan leader, "while they still trust us." Back on the Thunderhawk, Taiwan felt uneasy. Something wasn't right. The swarm's movements had become erratic, as if they had inside information about human plans. "Jai-Ho, check the ship for security breaches," he ordered. "I think someone might be leaking our plans to the enemy." Jai-Ho began a ship-wide scan. Hours later, he found something. "Captain, there's been unauthorized access to our battle plans," he reported. "The source is the Alliance command ship." Taiwan's face darkened. "So we have traitors among our allies." "Not all of them," said Hana. "Just some. The question is, why? Why help the swarm?" "Fear," answered Taiwan simply. "They fear us more than they fear the swarm. They would rather deal with an enemy they know than an ally they don't understand." Admiral Du Yan appeared on the main screen. Her face was grim. "Captain Kim, we have a situation," she said. "3 of our ships have been ambushed. We believe Alliance forces helped the swarm target them." Taiwan nodded. "We found evidence of betrayal here too, Admiral." "Proceed with Operation Nightshade," ordered Du Yan. "But be careful who you trust. It seems we're fighting 2 enemies now, not just one." As the Thunderhawk moved toward its next target, Taiwan knew the war had just become much more complicated. The enemy in front of them was bad enough, but the enemy behind them, hiding among their allies, might be even more dangerous. The attack came without warning. 3 Exervan ships appeared from behind a moon and fired on the Thunderhawk. The first blast hit the engines. The second damaged the weapon systems. "Shields down to 40%, shouted Jai-Ho as the ship shook. Taiwan grabbed the command console to stay upright. "Return fire. All working weapons." Dahyun's voice came over the comm from engineering. "Captain, engines are damaged. We can't outrun them." The Thunderhawk fired back, hitting 1 Exervan ship. But it wasn't enough. More blasts rocked the human vessel. "Shields at 15%, reported Jai-Ho. "One more hit and they're gone." Hana moved to the weapons station, rerouting emergency power to forward cannons. The ship shook again. Lights flickered and went out. Then emergency systems kicked in with a red glow. "We're hit bad," said Dahyun. "Engines are offline. We're adrift." Taiwan looked at the damage reports flowing across his screen. The Thunderhawk was crippled, floating in enemy space with no way to call for help. The Exervan ships kept their distance, waiting. "Why don't they finish us?" asked Jai-Ho. "They want us alive," said Taiwan grimly. "They want to know how Operation Nightshade works." While the Thunderhawk crew fought to save their ship, Chief Intelligence Officer Soo-Hyun Ri was on a secret mission. Disguised as an Alliance maintenance worker, she had infiltrated the Exervan command vessel days ago. Soo-Hyun moved silently through the ship's air ducts. She had been mapping the vessel, learning its secrets. Now she was close to the main command center where the Exervan leaders met. Through a vent, she could see and hear them talking. "The human ship is disabled," said one Exervan. "Soon we will board it and take what we need." "And the prophecy?" asked another. "It is as we feared," replied the Exervan leader. "These humans are the apex deathworlders from the ancient warnings. Once unleashed into the galaxy, they will dominate all. The prophecy is clear on this. Soo-hyun recorded everything. The Exervans weren't helping the swarm because they thought they could win. They were doing it because they feared humans would take over after the swarm was defeated. She needed to get this information back to the fleet. On the Alliance homeworld, the Council was in chaos. News of that Exervan betrayal had split them into two groups. Some wanted to continue working with humans. Others feared the Deathworlders might be worse than the swarm in the long run. "The humans have saved 3 of our worlds already," shouted Counselor Rule. "Without them, we would all be dead by now." "But the prophecy," began another member. "Enough about prophecies." Rule slammed his hand on the table. "I care about the present, not ancient fears." Their argument was cut short by alarms. On the large screen at the front of the room, they saw it. The largest swarm fleet ever detected, heading straight for the Alliance homeworld. Back on the Thunderhawk, Taiwan and his crew worked desperately to repair their ship. They had sealed off damaged sections and rerouted power systems. "Captain, we have movement," said Hana. "That Exervan ships are approaching. They're going to board us." Taiwan nodded. "They think we're helpless. Let's show them how dangerous cornered humans can be." He opened the ship-wide comm. "All crew, prepare for boarding action. Remember your training. Remember Earth. And remember this. On a Exervan ship, the air is thinner, the gravity is weaker, and we are stronger than they can imagine." As the Exervan ship connected to the Thunderhawk's airlock, Taiwan and his crew took up positions. They were damaged, outnumbered, and deep in enemy territory. But they were humans, Deathworlders, and they were about to show the Exervans exactly why the galaxy had feared them for so long. Proxima Sanctum, the Alliance capital world, glowed blue and green in the darkness of space. Its 3 moons formed a protective triangle around it. Normally, it was a place of peace. Today, it prepared for war. The remaining ships of the Deathworlder fleet arrived just as the swarm appeared on long-range scanners. Admiral Du-Yun's flagship led the human forces. "Status report," she commanded. 42 human ships ready for battle," replied her first officer. "The Thunderhawk is still missing." Du-Yun frowned. Captain Taiwan and his crew were her best officers. Without them, the coming fight would be harder. On the planet below, Alliance species rushed to shelters. They had seen what the swarm did to conquered worlds. Nothing survived. The ground itself was eaten away. "The swarm fleet is larger than we expected," said Tactical Officer Minho Jiang, studying the scanner data. "At least 200 ships." The Admiral's face remained calm, but her eyes showed worry. "Send word to all ships. We fight to the last. There is no retreat from this battle." On the damaged Thunderhawk, the fight against Exervan boarders had been swift and brutal. The aliens had expected to find a helpless crew. Instead, they met prepared humans fighting with the advantage of their Deathworld biology. Taiwan stood in the captured Exervan ship's control room. His uniform was torn and bloody, but he was alive. Most of his crew had survived too. "The ship is ours," reported Hana. "Their systems are different, but Jeho thinks he can operate them." "Good," said Taiwan. "We need to get back to the fleet." Soo-hyun entered the control room. "Captain, I've downloaded their communication logs. There's something important you need to see." On the screen, they watched a recorded message from the Exervan leader to the swarm. "The Alliance homeworld will be undefended on its southern continent," said the Exervan. "Land your forces there, and we will help you destroy the human fleet." "They gave the swarm invasion plans," said Hana, her voice cold with anger. "Set course for Proxima Sanctum," ordered Taiwan. "Maximum speed. We have to warn Admiral Du-Yun about the trap." The battle at Proxima Sanctum had already begun. Swarm ships filled the sky, their red energy weapons firing constantly. Human ships fought back, their blue beams cutting through enemy vessels. On the Admiral's flagship, Minho coordinated the most complex space battle in human history. "Group 3, move to Sector 7, he ordered. Cover the planet's southern hemisphere. Alliance leaders watched from their command center. They had never seen combat like this. Humans moved through space that would kill most species. They boarded swarm ships directly, using their biological advantage. Where Alliance troops would die in seconds, humans fought for hours. "They really are Deathworlders," whispered an Alliance general in awe. The battle seemed to be going well when suddenly, swarm ships changed formation. They concentrated their attack on the planet's southern continent, exactly where that Exervan had told them to strike. "They're breaking through," shouted Minho. "Southern defense is collapsing." Admiral Du Yan made a hard choice. "Move half our ships to the southern zone. We can't let them land on the planet." This left other areas vulnerable. Swarm ships immediately attacked these weaker points. "We're being surrounded," reported Minho. They knew our plan. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a new ship appeared on the scanner. It was the Thunderhawk, or what was left of it, now merged with Servant technology. "This is Captain Kim to all human ships," came Taiwan's voice over the comm. "The swarm knows your defense plans. The Exervan gave them our strategies. Change all formations now." With this warning, the human fleet quickly adapted. Ships moved to new positions. Battle plans changed. The swarm's advantage disappeared. As the Thunderhawk joined the fight, Taiwan saw Hannah's strike team prepare to board the largest swarm ship. "Be careful," he told her. "Come back alive." Hannah smiled. "Always do, Captain." Her team launched toward the massive enemy vessel, not knowing that inside it waited the biggest secret of the war. Hannah's strike team cut through the outer hull of the massive swarm ship. There were 10 humans in total, each wearing special combat suits designed by Dadhyun. The suits pumped human breath and sweat compounds into the air around them, creating a toxic zone for any swarm creatures that came close. "Stay tight," ordered Hannah as they moved through dark, organic-looking corridors. "Remember, we're looking for the control center." The inside of the swarm ship was unlike anything they had seen before. It looked more like a living thing than a spaceship. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. Strange lights glowed from within the structure itself. "This place gives me the creeps," said one soldier. They encountered few swarm creatures. Those they did find died quickly, unable to survive near the humans. "It's almost too easy," said Hannah with worry in her voice. "Something's not right." They reached a large chamber at the center of the ship. Inside was not what they expected. Instead of a swarm queen or leader, they found a strange glass tank. Inside the tank was a being that looked almost human. "What is that?" whispered one of the team members. Before anyone could answer, doors around the chamber opened. Swarm creatures poured in, more than they had seen before. These ones wore protective suits, shielding them from the human biological weapons. "They've adapted," shouted Hannah. "Fall back." The team fought hard, but they were surrounded. Their path back to their ship was cut off. On the Thunderhawk, Taiwan received the emergency signal from Hannah's team. "They're trapped," he told Jai-Ho, and they found something important. Jai-Ho studied the data Hannah had managed to send. "Captain, these readings, the being in the tank, it has human DNA." "What?" Taiwan couldn't believe it. "How is that possible?" "I don't know," said Jai-Ho. "But if the swarm has captured a human and is using them somehow, it could explain a lot." Taiwan made his decision quickly. "I'm going after them. Prepare a rescue team." "Captain, that's against all protocols," said Jai-Ho. "Admiral Du Yan ordered us to focus on the main battle." "I'm not leaving them behind," Taiwan said firmly. He opened the ship-wide comm. "I need volunteers for a rescue mission. It's high risk. No guarantees we come back." Every crew member on the bridge stepped forward. Inside the swarm ship, Hannah and her team had barricaded themselves in the central chamber with the strange tank. They had fought off 3 waves of swarm attackers, but more were coming. Hannah studied the being in the tank. It looked human, but with some differences. Its skin was pale, almost translucent. Wires and tubes connected it to the ship itself. It's controlling the swarm, she realized. This being is the brain behind everything. A loud explosion rocked the chamber. Through the smoke came Tadawan and his rescue team. Need some help? He asked with a small smile. Perfect timing, Captain, replied Hana. As the two teams secured the chamber, Jiho examined the tank and the being inside. Captain, this is incredible, he said. According to these readings, this is a human, but evolved. Change. My guess is it's from a lost colony ship, one that disappeared centuries ago. So the swarm captured a human descendant and is using it to control their forces, asked Tadawan. No, said Jiho. I think it's the opposite. This being, this nexus, created the swarm, or became the swarm. That's why they fear us. We're like it, but free. Can we communicate with it? Asked Tadawan. Jiho nodded. I think so. These controls look like they might be for communication. As Jiho worked on the controls, the battle continued outside. The human fleet was holding its own against the swarm, but they couldn't keep fighting forever. The being in the tank opened its eyes. They were completely black, with small stars visible inside them, like looking into space itself. Help, me, it said, its voice sounding in their heads rather than their ears. Free, me. Tadawan looked at the being with new understanding. The swarm isn't the enemy. It's a tool. And this nexus is a prisoner. If we free it, started Hana, we might end the war instantly, finished Tadawan. We need to free it, said Tadawan, looking at the nexus in the tank. But how? Jiho studied the control panels. These systems are complex. One wrong move could kill the nexus or make the swarm more aggressive. Suddenly, a new voice joined them. I can help. They turned to see Servant standing in the doorway. It was the leader they had seen in the recorded message. But now he was alone and unarmed. Why would you help us? Demanded Hana, raising her weapon. Because I was wrong, said the servant. The prophecy. I misunderstood it. When I saw what was in this chamber, I realized my mistake. What prophecy? Asked Tadawan. The ancient texts spoke of apex deathworlders who would change the galaxy forever, explained the servant. We thought it meant you would conquer us all. But now I see. He pointed to the nexus. This is what the prophecy meant. Humans would save us, not destroy us. Tadawan lowered his weapon slightly. Can you help free the nexus? The servant nodded. I studied the swarm technology. I know how the control systems work. Outside, the space battle continued. The human fleet was still fighting hard, but they were taking damage. Time was running out. The servant worked quickly with Jiho, bypassing security systems and shutting down control mechanisms. The tank began to drain its fluid. The swarm creatures are getting agitated, reported one of Hana's team, watching the corridors. They know something is happening. As the last of the fluid drained, the nexus opened its eyes fully. Its voice was clearer now in their heads. Thank you, it said. For centuries, I have been their prisoner. They found me drifting in space, the last survivor of the colony ship Horizon. They changed me, used me to control their biological weapons. The swarm is a weapon, asked Tadawan. Yes, said the nexus, created by an ancient race long extinct. The creatures you fight are not naturally aggressive. They are controlled through me. The ship shuddered around them. What's happening? Asked Hana. I am breaking the control links, said the nexus. The swarm will become dormant without my direction. Throughout the massive ship, lights began to flicker and die. The pulsing of the walls slowed and stopped. In space, Admiral Du Yun watched in amazement as swarm ships suddenly stopped fighting. Their lights went out. Their weapons powered down. What's happening? She asked. Unknown, Admiral, replied her first officer. But the swarm ships are shutting down all across the battlefield. The Admiral's comm unit lit up with a signal from the Thunderhawk. "Admiral, this is Captain Kim," came Taluwan's voice. "We found the control center of the swarm. The war is over." On Alliance worlds everywhere, people watched as the swarm threat disappeared almost instantly. Ships that had been attacking planets simply drifted in space, harmless. Creatures on the ground stopped moving. In the days that followed, the true story spread across the galaxy. Humans had not just defeated the swarm, they had freed it from control. The creatures, now dormant, were collected and moved to uninhabited systems where they could live without harming others. The Alliance welcomed humans as full members of the galactic community. The quarantine of Earth was officially ended. Engineers Da Hyun and Wee Jun Cho led teams helping rebuild damaged Alliance worlds. They introduced human technology that made reconstruction faster and better. Medical Officer Eun-ji created new treatments using the knowledge they had gained during the war. She found ways to use human resilience factors to help other species heal faster. The ex-servant leader officially apologized for the betrayal. "We feared what we did not understand," he said. "Now we see that humans are not to be feared, but welcomed." However, not all news was good. Intelligence reports showed that some swarm activity continued in distant parts of the galaxy. These hives had gone dormant rather than shutting down completely. Something else might be controlling them, warned Soo-hyun. The Nexus says there were other control centers, older ones, deeper in unknown space. The war might be over, but the mystery was just beginning. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Proxima Sanctum. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined before. The UEF Thunderhawk floated in space dock, looking very different from before. Its hull now combined human and Alliance technology. New weapon systems glinted along its sides. The ship had been rebuilt, stronger than ever. Inside, Admiral Taewon Kim, he had been promoted after the war, stood on the bridge. The crew around him was not just human anymore. Several Alliance species now served on human ships. They had trained hard to adapt to working alongside Deathworlders. "Status report," said Taewon. "All systems ready, Admiral," replied Commander Hannah Park from her station. She too had been promoted, now serving as his second in command. "The fleet is in position," reported Minho. 15 ships ready for the mission. Taewon nodded. This would be the first major expedition beyond known space since the war ended. Reports of strange activity at the edge of the galaxy could not be ignored. "The Nexus is ready to speak with you," said Jio. In a special chamber near the bridge, the Nexus now lived in a comfortable environment. Free from the swarm's control, it had chosen to help the Alliance explore the mysteries of deep space. "Thank you for coming, Admiral," said the Nexus when Taewon entered its chamber. Its voice was clearer now, though it still spoke directly into minds rather than with sound. "You said you found something important," said Taewon. The Nexus nodded its strange, starry-eyed head. "I have been scanning the void between galaxies. There is something moving there, something large. Another swarm. No, something older. Something that might have created the first swarm controllers." Taewon frowned. "Is it a threat?" "I don't know," admitted the Nexus, "but it is coming toward our galaxy." On the Alliance Council homeworld, a historic ceremony took place. The quarantine that had kept humans isolated for centuries was officially removed from all records. "From this day forward," announced High Counselor Mika, "Earth and all human colonies are recognized as full members of the Galactic Alliance with all rights and protections." Mika handed a special medallion to Admiral Du-Yun, who represented Earth at the ceremony. "Humans have proven themselves not just strong warriors, but compassionate allies," continued Mika. "When victory was in their grasp, they chose to free rather than destroy. When faced with betrayal, they chose forgiveness over revenge." The gathered representatives clapped, their many different hands and appendages creating a strange but unified sound. After the ceremony, Du-Yun met with the council privately. "We've received the reports from the Thunderhawk," she told them. "Something is coming from beyond our galaxy." "Another threat?" asked Rule, now much older but still strong in spirit. "We don't know yet," said Du Yun. "But whatever it is, we will face it together." Back on the Thunderhawk, final preparations were being made for the journey. "Communication systems check complete," reported Jinwoo. "We can stay in contact with Alliance space for at least 6 months at maximum distance." Taehyun grinned from his engineering station. "The new hybrid engines are ready. We can go farther and faster than any ship before us." Sun Mei, now in charge of the mixed human-alien security teams, reported that all defense systems were online. EMG had prepared the medical bay with treatments for all species on board. "Whatever we find out there, we'll be ready," she said confidently. Taiwan looked around at his crew, human and alien working side by side. Just 1 year ago, such cooperation would have seemed impossible. "All stations," he commanded, "prepare for departure." The great ship hummed with power as its engines came to life. Around it, the rest of the fleet did the same. "Course laid in, Admiral," said Hana. "Ready when you are." Taiwan looked at the star map one last time. Beyond the edge of known space lay mysteries no one had yet solved, but they would face them together. "The galaxy once feared us," he said to his crew. "They called us Deathworlders, dangerous predators to be avoided. Now they look to us for protection." He smiled slightly. "Let's show them they were right to trust us. Engage engines." The Thunderhawk moved forward, leading the fleet into the unknown. On its hull, new words had been painted beneath the ship's name. "From Earth we come, for all we stand." As the ships accelerated to light speed, the stars stretched into lines of light. Whatever waited beyond the frontier, the former Deathworlders, now guardians of the galaxy, would be ready. The end.